and I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to not only tell us more about your amazing clothing brand, but also to learn a little bit more about your story. So why don't we
Thank
get started with that before we talk
you.
about the
Sure.
business side? How did you go about starting
Yeah.
your
AFC.
company? Yeah, and what is it? Kind of give us the rundown. Is there a particular reason for the name? Like, what's the story? How did we get there?
Thank you for asking. American Freedom Co. is the name, American Freedom Company. I always like to say I grabbed both names just in case.
I
So
like it.
AFC for short, it stands for American Freedom Co. And it came about because going back a couple years to lockdown 2020. So my two sons and I, we live in California, Southern California, Orange County to
Wow.
be specific. We're in lockdown. We're in a beautiful condo at the time. At this point, I've been a single mom now for 2 years. So we are not out of the thick of things. It's tough. At that point, I had gone from having three, sometimes four part-time and contract jobs just to make ends meet and to make it work, to then having my first like big time corporate. It was a Fortune 500 company, 9 to 5. You're familiar with the local geography. So it was literally get up at 4 a.m, get ready, drop off the kids, drive up the 405 into Irvine, which is like the heart. It's like our local metropolis, and then
Yes.
come back down by 6 p.m. to pick up the kids, before childcare was over. So it was the grind.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I was in it, B2B sales. So my lifelong career was as a dancer. And then I had done a few things here and there as a mom and as a wife, and then as a single mom, but really it all came together in this corporate sales job. Fast forward to lockdown, and there were mass layoffs happening. I'm sure you remember millions of people losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And I was no exception. May 2020, I lost my job. Our whole branch, we had mass layoffs. And my children were at home doing what I call Zoom school at the time.
hmm
And, everyone outside it's like the apocalypse. You remember.
Yeah, it did feel like
So
that. It was very eerie. Very eerie. Very
totally. It was
scary.
sad. It was sad to see people go to like such a mental imprisonment.
hmm
But we were without income instantly. It was a 2 week, would it be called severance when you're laid off? I don't know. So it was a 2 week
hmm
term. And then we were really without income. I filed for unemployment, which was really sad. I remember that was really hard for me because I'd never really not worked entirely. And we weren't going to make it. I wasn't going to be able to keep the house, expenses. I ended up actually not being able to keep that house. It was really, really hard.
Wow.
In late June, I literally woke up one day. I remember clear as day. I had this vertical hanging American flag in my bedroom. I don't think I've ever shared this like in any media. I remember waking up, I looked at that flag, and I really felt like from the Lord, mind you, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. I really felt like from the Lord, it was clear as day. The whole sentence, it was like, can I say Gavin Newsom on the, not
Yeah,
like
you
on
can.
the podcast?
You can say whatever you like.
Clear as day. So at the time, Gavin Newsom was and still is governor. Um, I remember thinking, Gavin Newsom is not going to tell me that I can't leave my house and I can't get a great job to provide for my kids who can't go to their school. It's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. You can't do it. It's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's un-American, and it's unbiblical. And I remember just thinking, okay, if I have to work within the confines of these walls and we're struggling this much, I'm going to do it. And I remember literally thinking, we are going to thrive. I'm going to make work happen from inside the house. And so I went and I got some jackets, wholesale, some denim jackets. I went to Michael's and I did like the static coupon that they always have online. I got some paint and some paintbrushes. I started painting the American flag on the back of jean jackets. And from my home on social media, I basically told my audience, look, I lost my job. These are hard times. Please buy these hand painted jackets. I'm going to save that money and start an apparel brand, like true grassroots entrepreneur. When you think about like really truly built, like it was like lemonade stand level logic, Dave Ramsey-ish finances, and God ordained business, because it really happened. It was hardcore pro America. I said from the jump, I was going to be pro military, pro police, pro fire. I will not bend on that. July 1st was my opening, like my first social media post ever for AFC. And so that's kind of my opening day, my first day of sales. And we were in the thick of the riots.
Mm. Remember those well.
Yeah, we were in the thick of BLM riots. We are blessed in Southern California to have an incredible police department. And so a lot of people that we know and love were obviously affected, not to mention people in these cities. And still, even though I don't want to say a lot to lose because I was just starting, but I had a lot to lose in the sense that I had to work. We needed income. I still stood toe to the line, very pro police, pro America, pro military. And our military was coming up on a lot of controversy too, because they had choices to make about their health and their body. And they're still dealing with, there was a lot going on. So those were our company values. I always said from the beginning, I would put God first. I still remember, I can literally name Kim, Kelly, Madeline. I can probably name the 10 first people who bought those jean jackets.
Oh.
I still I get very emotional because these people took a chance on a business that didn't even really exist yet. And then those things multiplied. I can still think of the first influencers, Isabel, Amy, Emily, who shared my jacket with people. And if you really think about it, that's pretty wild. They helped me build this business in the sense that they took that gamble on me, and I did save up that money, and that became $1,000, and then it became $7,000, and then I invested in my first line of t-shirts that were my own designs, and then those did great. And then all of a sudden, the dining room is full. The living room is full. My sister sent me the best video the other day. And it was do you remember this? And it was all these merchandise boxes filled with kid nuts, filled with stuff in the kitchen, filled with and then it went into the garage. Then it went back into the house. And all of a sudden, a babysitter, I asked her, I was would you be interested in retail at all and working in my store, but it's really in my house? And, I know you, I trust you. The kids know you. Would you like it? And so then all of a sudden I hired her and got the business stuff in order. And within 10 months, we needed a warehouse.
Wow. That is so crazy.
It's
What
crazy.
a blessing.
Yes.
Within 10 months?
Yeah. God's economy. So then within 10 months, we needed a warehouse. I thought, okay, this is crazy. My family, I'm sleeping between racks of clothing. My sons have so it was literally to the point where I'd work at night, I'd pack bags. My audience who's been here from the jump, they remember me being in the garage at 4 a.m, hi, wearing a parka.
Yeah.
Orders, trying to be quiet because the neighbors, and then the kids wake up. So then I would go to our living room, pick up merchandise off the couch, make a pile so they could enjoy the living room. They go to bed. I put it back on the couch, and then I keep going. And you do what you have to do. But we needed a warehouse within 10 months. God really blessed that.
Yeah.
We secured a warehouse where I'm at now in Southern California. And we have a team. We have an amazing, our audience, who I call the AFC family. They are the bloodline of this company, and it's awesome.
I just want to say, Sarah, that I have so much respect for you. I don't even know if I can truly articulate it, because not only is it, I think just everything you're doing is a testimony to your walk with God, but also as to pull off a business, starting a business during a global pandemic. And like you said, in Kami, California, is not an easy task. And I also have a lot of respect for you, because I really think representation for women is really important, to see those strong female leaders. We don't have a lot of them kind of on the right, if you will. Well, we do.
Totally.
They just don't get a lot of attention.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity and that highlight. Yeah. I'm so grateful. There are some amazing female trailblazers. It reminds me, Proverbs 31, it talks about In paraphrase, like, an ideal wife or woman or mom, and a wife of noble character, I believe is how it's phrased. And it says in that scripture that she goes out to the merchant ships, she selects her wool and her flax, and she multiplies what she earns, she invests. And I mean, it even references her real estate. I remember reading Proverbs 31 and I was like, she works in clothing manufacturing.
Oh
I
my
mean, of
gosh.
course, you're a historian, right? So the idea is that we apply these biblical truths to our lives today, and God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But the reality is, He did give us that amazing example. And what's really special about that example is Proverbs 31 is written down from the sightings of this king's mom. So the idea was spoken by a woman, and through God, I mean, that God through her spoke these things. It's pretty special. So when you're like these strong women, I'm like, yeah, Proverbs 31 women, rise
I
up.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And it's so important. And thank you for sharing that with me because even I didn't really truly know the background of that particular scripture because I'm pretty new in my walk with God. So I
Exciting.
feel like sometimes the kids in Sunday school know more than I do. So I'm like, I'm trying
Oh,
to play catch up.
totally. My kids, yeah, sometimes my kids in a great way can out scripture me, or they'll say things and I'm thinking, I need to double check that before I answer that question. Wow.
That's how I
So
feel as a teacher. Sometimes a student will throw out a question and I'm like, I don't know.
what
Actually,
a
let me
blessing.
check.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that my sons are walking in, at least learning about the Lord. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So I did want to ask, because you're very active on social media and that seems like it's also been a blessing too for you. It seems like that was how a big part of how you were able to facilitate and grow your business. But I want to ask, I'm a nosy historian. Is there anything that you haven't really shared about your business that maybe you would like more people to know, kind of that you want to bring some attention to or recognition to?
Oh, wow. Great question. And you're right. So on my website in the back end, you can look at where your sources come from, your sales, and it's like 98% Instagram. So yeah, what a
Love it.
blessing. What a blessing. Thank you, Lord. Redeem the internet. So
I like
we
that. You should put that on a shirt, side note.
I know I have to credit one of the pastors at our church, Kenny Luck. He's always like, we need to redeem the internet. So I have to give
Okay.
him credit for that.
Love
And if he's listening, that would be a great shirt.
it.
So, or if he's watching. So about the business, you know what? I'm so thankful that the AFC family, they know my intention and my heart really, really well. They also know that I keep a lot of things private as a single mom. I want to honor my children, their privacy, the extended family and everything like that. And so when I keep things, I always say there's a difference between secrecy and privacy.
Mm,
And
I like that.
so I don't have like shocking secrets or anything like that, but I do keep a lot of things private. And I would say the business is not easy. The business is very, very difficult. But there's nothing like shocking that I'm like, oh, I wish they knew this. I would say if there was something if I could physically talk to in person, all at this point now, 25,000 plus people who follow the shop, I would literally say, thank you so much that you like know my heart, because I can't tell you how many people, like, for example, when something sells out, I never get messages of like, why don't you have more stock? Why didn't you do this? I always get people who say, I missed my favorite thing that I wanted and I'm so happy for you.
No.
Like that is such a rare gift, I think, on the internet.
Yeah,
Um,
entirely.
I wish people knew, for those who are listening and not watching, I'm like holding back tears. I wish people knew we recently this spring celebrated our 10,000th order, which is incredible. Thank you, Lord. But I wish people knew, like when that little cha-ching happens on the site and that signifies a new order, I wish people knew it still feels like the first order, because we are a small business. Every single t-shirt, literally that's
Oh
X
my
amount of
gosh.
dollars that goes toward my family when I pay, like literally each month, when I see like the water bill, the electricity bill, the gas bill, I hope people know that when they shop, they're paying our bills. I hope people know that they're making a huge difference in my life.
Um,
And then on a bigger scale, I'm like crying. On a bigger scale, there's just so much gratitude. The tears are gratitude, by the way. On a bigger scale, I hope people know like the amazing good that we want to accomplish with the mission of our brand, which is really to bless and serve our military, our vets, and our first responders. Um, I sometimes when we leave Camp Pendleton from these events that we put on, I'm almost like quiet on social media for a couple days, and it's because I can't stop crying like tears of joy. And it's also because I see so much need in so many ways that we can serve, and I have to try and find the words. So I just hope people know, one, how much they help my family and bless my family, and how much we really do count on each purchase and how much they mean to us. I don't take it for granted. And then two, I would say I hope people can really see that we are on a mission to bless our military and to stand up for our vets with PTSD and to stand beside our cops and to love our fire families and their spouses. So those are the things that I really, really want people to know.
oh my
Sorry for getting so emotional. I try,
God.
I try to keep a better temperament.
No, I'm so happy that you shared that. And I was I was tearing up as well. And I was
Oh,
thinking like, I did not wear waterproof mascara.
I love you. Let me get my charger. I'm sorry. This is uncouth. Welcome to my art corner. This is my children's art corner.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries. Take your time.
Sorry about that. I'll be challenging your editing skills.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay. No, I just realized I revealed I'm probably just gonna keep it rolling.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Okay, good. I'm so sorry. I can't even let me think through that. I'm so sorry, Sarah.
no, would you like me to pause? I can pause really fast.
Well, I would say what's best for you. Let me just see if I can. What did I do? This is my computer bag. This is
You're
real,
so funny.
real mom life. Oh, here we go. I went to the car dealership yesterday and had to camp out, and so I packed up my computer. I'm
I
sorry,
love it.
Sarah. Thank
You
you
have
for
nothing to apologize for. I
talk
love
about
it.
being a real life CEO mommy.
Mhm. These are those moments that I think we actually it's fun to preserve. And if you're okay with it, I'd love to just
Of
keep
course
the
I am.
moment.
I am literally like, I call them moments, like moments, but the pun is mom. I'm sitting on my kid's art desk in front of, how cute is their little,
It's adorable. I
I know it
really,
says you're brave and strong because their names are Ethan and Everett, and their names long, short mean brave and strong. So I
oh
love
my gosh, that
that.
is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Okay. That was
Of
a great question.
course. No, and I realized as I went to kind of try to fix my makeup, I revealed my two. I've lost two nails now. I lost one before the interview and now one during the interview. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm a tad bit superstitious, so I'm like, maybe that's a good thing.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. If your audience is as gracious as mine, they won't care at all that I didn't have my computer plugged in.
Not at all. Yeah, no, I'm very, very thankful for my audience who follows the show and has been with me on this journey. They're very so like just they keep it real and I appreciate
Totally.
that, you know. So I did lose my train of thought. So let me
You
pull
were
up my
on
questions.
what would I like them to know about the business? And then my attitude of gratitude just took over and I was bubbling up.
I love it. No, and I think that's important to actually preserve. And maybe that I do remember what I wanted to ask. You did talk a little bit about how the pandemic it influenced you creating this business,
Mhm.
and you've talked about it from like kind of the career aspect. But are there any other ways that you would, if you want to share, are there any other ways that the pandemic impacted your life? And I asked that question more so for like I'm thinking 50, 100 years from now, what are
Oh,
people gonna want to know about what it was like to be alive during the COVID-19 pandemic?
great question. I could give like a 2-hour dissertation on this question. I want to talk about
Love
history,
it.
which I won't, but I would say I'll sort of reverse engineer it. I would say if I could ask the question, it would be, hey, Sarah, 200 years from now, if someone could look into your personal life and how COVID-19 and the pandemic affected you, what would you want them to know?
Mm,
And I would say, I would want them to think that woman was a single mom and she was really brave.
mm, Yeah.
So there was a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of really serious things. The reality is people did and do die. Very, very sad. So there was a lot of looking at the hard facts, a lot of weighing what was best for my family, my sons. They don't go to public school anymore for most of the, you can guess all the reasons why. And I just made every choice with faith over fear and not reckless, not dumb. I'm not, out there trying to like breathe right on people's faces. But my sons and I lived pretty freely, respectfully, abiding by the law. But I would hope people look back and think, wow, that woman was really brave. So
Yeah.
COVID-19 affected us in a drastic way, changed our whole lives. But it only made us mentally stronger. And I say us because, you teach a child the way they should go when they're young. So,
I love that.
yeah.
And all of these different parts of your story. A few years ago, I had a friend. Have you ever heard the saying "fake it till you make it"? Right? We've all heard
Yes.
that. Well, one of my friends, who is a very devout Christian, I was, in the beginning of my walk talking to her about things, and she was like, "Sarah, don't. I get why you say that saying, but I think maybe you should change it to faith it till you make
Yeah,
it."
I
And
love
that's
that.
kind of like what you are reminding me of, because it's like you put a lot of your faith into this journey and took that leap, and it's very
Yeah.
admirable. It's scary.
Totally. Yeah, I would say it's probably scarier for entrepreneurs who don't have faith.
Mm, touche.
There you
Very
go.
good point.
Yeah. Oh, nice flag. Is that a 3% flag
It
behind you?
is. Oh,
Oh,
it is.
girl.
Yes, it is. I didn't realize I was kind of blocking it.
I
Sorry.
like it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to in the episode description put the artist who made it. He does
Oh, that
some,
would be great. That'd be
yeah, I'll
awesome.
tag his Instagram. He's
Is he
does
local?
phenomenal work. He is not. He's on the East Coast. But
Okay.
yeah, and then that actually in regards to California, something I wanted to ask is do you plan to keep your business in California? Because we desperately need you. I
Thank you so
kind of hope
much.
selfishly I hope you do, but I totally get it if you don't.
Yeah, great question. Not that yeah. There are so many things I wish if I could like speak freely and had no filter. Not that I'm not speaking freely. I just meant if I just had no like self-editing. Yeah, so to answer that question in long short, I say I'm really proud because are you ready for this? So people pay a premium for my products. I'm proud of that. I can stand toe to the line to defend that. And I'm really grateful as an entrepreneur for that. I think it's important in business to be very shrewd, to price yourself right and accordingly, and to also charge what you're worth. Part of what people pay for is we do donate a portion of every sale to benefit vets, first responders, and military with PTSD or TBIs. And we also, and various causes, and we also, though, all of our manufacturing that's done, not well, let me think about that. We do some things on the East Coast. A lot of our manufacturing, meaning all of our print, private labeling, packaging, et cetera, all of that is done in California. We pay a premium for that. But the number of people who have work because of American Freedom Company is sometimes I just am amazed. I'm just amazed the number of vendors we have and the staff that they have. So, not to mislead, those people don't work directly for me, but they do when they print my merchandise, right?
Yeah.
My staff, my contractors who are all in the United States, we pay a premium for that labor and we want people to have a really great work-life balance and we pay for that and we support them in that. So, I'm really, really proud of that. So, when you say California needs American Freedom Company, I agree. I agree. We're creating jobs here.
Mhm.
And also, I think California needs more entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, policies don't make it super entrepreneur friendly right now as
Yeah.
much as it used to be. So, to answer your question, I'm here. And unless God calls us elsewhere and makes that way, we're here. We are here also. We're grounded by extended roots and family. And we have, not to sound corny, but our church family is our family. They're the people that we've prayed for years. And then, the boys, they have family and things that I have to consider and weigh in their life. And so that keeps us here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I completely get that. When you mentioned that, if God calls you to go somewhere else. I will say, probably one of the trickiest things about or surprising things maybe about becoming a Christian is, uh, my pastor told me, like, be careful when you tell God, like, hey, I'm living for you and tell me where you want me to go, because he's going to put you to work really fast. Like, you might
Yeah.
be surprised how quick he's like, okay, here's where I want you to go. So
Mhm.
I respect that answer a lot.
Oh, thank you. My friend Alex, she sent me a song recently. It's called Deliverer. And I think I love it. I've been like listening to it. It's my jam. I think one of the lyrics says, when you tell me move, I don't need a destination. And I'm like,
Mm,
wow, that's
that's
pretty
beautiful.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. But
Well,
I'm
I
here.
did, yeah, I'm glad. We need you here. I did want to ask though a little bit more about like some entrepreneurial advice.
Anything, Shark Tank me.
Yes. Well, what's your number one? Well, we can keep it a little bit more general. Like, what's your number one piece of advice in business? But then also maybe do you have another one that's a little bit more specific for the ladies?
Ooh, great question. Only one piece of advice?
Yeah, your top
Mm.
one.
Okay. That's
I
hard.
know it's
Okay,
hard.
so yeah, that is hard. I'm always like, I have three pretty big pieces of advice. The top piece of advice, honestly, you have to get cranking. You have to do it. Nobody has it all figured out. I'm learning as I go. Everyone is learning as they go. If they tell you they're not, they're insane. And most of the leaders in every industry, there's a reason they're called trailblazers because they're learning as they go.
Yeah.
So even the most successful entrepreneurs, who taught them? You have to get started. We need more entrepreneurs for the sake of America and American business and capitalism. If you have an amazing idea, if you think you do, if you have the will, if you have the drive, you have to get going. You have to do it. And for the ladies, I would say, I mean, I don't know that this is gender specific. I would say, to anybody, I say this all the time. Anyone asks me business advice or work advice, I will usually answer their specific question. So if they say, how often should I be on social media, or how should I market this, or which platform do you use for that, or your website, or your finances, or your whatever, I will answer that question, but then I'll always reference Proverbs chapter 16 is like my umbrella business, everything I ever need to know for my business, every question, every decision I ever have, I always test it against that scripture.
Wow.
It is the best advice. You really like Proverbs 16. When people say, oh, I have a job interview, please pray for me, or I don't know what to do with my career path in this sense, I have a fork in the road, Proverbs 16. I need a decision about my business, Proverbs 16. So I would just say cling to that. That's the best business manual you're ever going to have. It's way better than any advice Sarah can give you. And as an entrepreneur, just I know you said only one, but like make sure you just have a great business mentor and that you know how to say no. Business is you have to know how to say no.
I like that. And I know I said only one, but now I'm kind of curious, but you kind of mentioned it
Yeah.
anyway. So if you want to throw them in the interview, just go for it because I actually really like it. But the one you said about no, that something that my dad taught me very early on, and my dad's a police officer. So like when I was young and I went through his version of self-defense classes, which was intense as as a cop
I
kid.
love that.
Um, Yeah, but I remember very vividly something he told me when I was really young was that no is a complete sentence. And it
Yes.
actually,
Go, Dad. More
right?
dads, less government. Good job, Dad. Mr.
Yeah.
Long for the win. I love it. Thank him so much for his service to his community. And we will always have his back, your mom's back, your back. We're so grateful.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, and I think too to even like you were kind of mentioning, I think sometimes ladies, like if I my kind of advice or as I've progressed in my own career, I think sometimes women we have when we say no, we have a tendency to provide an explanation as well, and that's something that I would like to tell the ladies, you don't have to do that. No is a complete
Absolutely.
sentence. Stand your ground, know your values, and
Yeah.
it's okay.
I work with a lot of manufacturing, obviously. So, definitely in my experience, not to stereotype, it really is male dominated. There are women, but it's very male dominated. And, I'm spunky and happy and 5'3.5", and I'm just so excited about things. So sometimes when I have to give that bottom line or send a no without explanation, or just say, hey, this is how it's going to happen, I'm definitely a lion in business. There's no question about it. I don't mince words. That doesn't mean I forsake kindness and respect and decency, but I'm definitely shrewd. And so sometimes, I was just telling my operations supervisor this. I go, sometimes when I do that, the men get really like surprised. And in a great way, because I'm blessed to say it continues to foster great business relationships, and
Yeah.
you treat me great, but sometimes you have to lay down the line.
We do. And it's, it's difficult at times, but it is necessary for the overall, health of your
Sure.
business.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And I want to ask kind of more of a theoretical question.
Sure.
It's putting on my history hat, if you will. So no right or wrong answers, but do you think our founders would be proud of what's going on in California today?
I think if there were honest discourse and debate, differing opinions, sure, because that's what they fought for, right? They fought for people's right to agree or not, or to disagree. But I think they would be really shocked, probably grieved in the spirit by a lot of the things that they see. We in California, we have a fentanyl epidemic, like a
Yeah.
true, I don't know if that's the right word. It's a problem. There's a drug problem. There's a homelessness problem. There's an education and curriculum problem, as you know. Thank you so much, by the way, for what you do in education. So I think that would dishearten them. That would grieve their spirit. That would be sad. Thomas Jefferson often said, that great and ethical, now that I'm paraphrasing, but he always said that, ethical and moral people won't always be in authority and in government. It's true. I don't think they would be as shocked as people think they would be by some of our policies and policymakers. I think they would be proud of the people fighting for freedom. But I also think they would be a little bit disappointed at how twisted some people have tried to, and how lax some people are about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You have to remember, in the Revolution, we're talking about tens and tens of thousands of people who died. I mean, just think back to the Battle of Bunker Hill. We have Dr. Joseph Warren. He bravely gave his life. He was a physician. He bravely gave his life battling because he didn't want his men fighting alone. He probably would have been one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence had he not given his life at the Battle of Bunker Hill. When you think about that level of, or you think about a mom, right? You just think about a mom. Her husband is gone. She has to quarter a redcoat in her home, like probably provide food for this person. When you think about like the true psychological and physical warfare that they went through, I think that our founding fathers would maybe be dismayed. It's like a lot of things that we see in California don't honor their sacrifice. That's something that I'm here for. Even the message in a lot of my t-shirts is very pro founding fathers. When people say things like, well, our founding fathers didn't mean for this amendment to be for this purpose. And I think, yeah, they did. They were smart. Yes, they did. They were young. I think there's this like, this sort of imagery that people have that our founding fathers were these decrepit, they were young and they were just incredible. So, not that they were perfect, but I do believe that the Constitution is truly the most amazing political document ever written. I see a lot happening in our state that doesn't honor that, and that's sad. But there's hope. It's not lost. There's nowhere I would defect to. I love America. Will never turn my back on this country. And so we do have to fight for what they intended for our kids.
I love that. And I actually really like that you responded to that question through more of an emotional lens, because something I tell my students a lot is that, like, in a lot of history textbooks, we give kind of the structural overview, right? Structural realities change a lot from one generation to the next, but human emotion does not. This is what allows you to connect with the past.
Yeah.
This is why you can read a love letter from 1,000 years ago and you
Woo!
still know what it means.
Fire, girl! I
Right?
just did one of those polls on my Instagram page, where people say, like, tell us your unpopular opinion.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So one of my audience members, she goes, basically, like, we shouldn't date, courtship is where it's at, you know?
Oh,
And my
okay.
audience shockingly, like, majority agreed with her. I
Mhm.
agree with you. I am sorry not to interrupt you. I apologize. Please
No,
finish that
no.
thought. No, finish that thought and then I'll tell you.
Oh, I don't. I'm a notorious like teacher in that regard. I forgot where I was going.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Sorry.
Okay. I'll
Well,
remember
I
it
love
like
what you said
3 in the
about human
morning.
emotion being the same throughout history. That's an
Mhm.
incredible point. I love one of my girlfriends gave me some great encouragement before I had an appearance on Turning Point USA.
Oh, very nice.
And I got the news list of the day, some hard topics. And she goes, "You know what, girl? You always just say it how it is. God was the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Go for it. Do your thing." And I loved that. And when you just said that human emotion is the same throughout history, my first thought was, yeah, of course, because God created us.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I love that.
As
No
soon
one's
as you said that. And I think sometimes
wow.
people oversimplify the idea of like, is there or isn't there? And I understand, sometimes from an intellectual perspective, there are people who God made to be more detail oriented. They need more proof. But just you saying that, a love letter from 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, it can evoke that same emotion. It's because God made us. He made us emotional. He made us romantic. God created us. And so he is the same yesterday and today and tomorrow. Scripture says that we reflect his image. We're made in the image of God. We're created to reflect his glory. And so it's true when we are, yeah, I think that's so true. Great point. Great point.
Oh,
Good job. When you
I
said
love
that, I love
that.
that.
I hope I remember where I was. I'm probably going to text you at like 3 in the morning and be like, this is what I meant to say.
Anytime. I wish
But
I would have heard the rest of that thought. I get too excited to talk back and forth. And so
I'm the same way. You can ask my own students. I'll go on tangents all the time and then I get excited about things too.
mhm.
But another question I know I don't want to take too much more of your time. I understand you're busy. But I did want to ask, what's something that you really want to make sure future generations remember about this time in American history, or more so something that you think is at risk of being left out of the history books?
Ooh,
I know it's kind of a tricky one.
well, I think Donald Trump is at risk of being left out of the history books, to be honest.
Okay, touche.
Not entirely. I think what I mean by that, if you want to dig deeper, what I really mean besides 45 is I think that a lot of times the truth is at risk of being left out of the history books.
Mm,
I think that we're seeing right now a society where the goalpost is constantly moving. I saw some kind of really hyper progressive post. There was some new toy that came out. I don't even want to give credit to the manufacturer and give them ad space, but it was a very progressive toy. I wouldn't buy it for my children.
mhm.
Geared toward, I would say, anyone under the age of 5. And the comments were so celebratory. And then all of a sudden, that toy wasn't enough. The skin color wasn't right on that toy. The this and that wasn't right on that toy. And I just think this is the perfect example of it's never enough. You can't cave, right? You have to have a moral grounding, a moral compass. You stick to it and it just doesn't change. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. It's not that we're not loving of all people, but it also means we don't have to lie to people. I think when people look back in time, there will definitely be markers that show, man, this society kept compromising one small thing at a time until all of a sudden it either looked different or the brave stood up or the scales tipped the other way. So that is one thing that's a little bit sad. However, we don't lose hope, and I hope so. This is like a preemptive hope. I hope when history looks back on us, they say this was happening in America. America was about 250 years old and society started seeing this veer from their original values. But then this happened, and I hope America is still thriving. I hope we are still the freest, truest. I hope capitalism is thriving. I hope families are able to sustain. We used to be able to have families that had that single income. Dad was in the home. Families were more whole. I hope that America is still thriving. So I really, really hope this dissonance that we're seeing in moral values, in political agendas, I really hope this dissonance that we're seeing is truly just a mark in time and not so much the end of well, not to get doom and gloom, but I hope that America is thriving in the future.
Yeah, and I actually, and throughout the history worlds, there was, especially like when in 2017 kind of ish, there was a lot of people in history departments talking about how America is on the stage to, we have an oligarchy already. And, it was very kind of like that pessimistic perspective. And they were pulling a lot from Plato's The Republic, where he talks about kind of the cycle of governments.
Oh yeah.
But my counter to that, and why I think America will continue on, and part of what makes us so unique and strong, is that our government isn't just a democracy or a republic. It's a blend of
Yeah.
both of them.
Oh, pun
So,
intended, makeup. Sorry.
exactly. Yeah, but so it doesn't really quite fit in within that cycle of, and this is part of like the amazing intelligence of our founders. They knew that. They studied history and they were trying to prevent that kind of cycle from repeating itself.
Sure.
Find something. That's why our Constitution is a living document. So I love that you said that.
Oh, girl, take me to church. I thought to reference a document because we are in the vein of history. So I talked about earlier, Dr. Joseph Warren, so fun and fun fact, very close to Sam Adams. They talked a lot. There's evidence that suggests they talked a lot about the Boston Tea Party before it happened.
Oh,
Joseph Warren was very moved by the Boston Massacre, gave
mm.
incredible addresses on the anniversary of the Boston Massacre 2-year anniversary. But there's a document called Constitutional Liberty and Arbitrary Power. And it's an essay where he accounts for 3 basic concepts. And he references a lot the Roman Empire, the fall of the Roman Empire. And so that's a really fun one. If your audience, or if you ever just want one to kind of grab your highlighter and really dig in, that's a really, really, really fun document. Constitutional Liberty and Arbitrary Power. It's totally worth the read. I'm a history nerd though, so I love it. I've spent months, I'm reading right now the very end of The Art of War. I've been in it for months.
Oh,
and it's a short read.
Love that.
So I love it, but that's a great fun essay, Joseph Warren.
Well, thank you so much for that tip, because I can use that. I can assign that as a primary source.
It's a really fun
classes.
thing. He talks about taxation from far away, which is something we can relate to. He talks about the risk of sitting armies, which of course was very relevant at the time. And he does talk a lot of caution about the Roman Empire, and he discusses the importance of truly having a constitutional republic. So it's a really great document.
I love that. That's amazing. I have 2 more questions for you before we conclude our interview. And to kind of, I think it's best if we continue on with the history. You are very well versed on history. So I wanted to give you a moment to talk about maybe like 1 or 2 products that you want to kind of give your audience the background
thank you.
Why it has the design, and I love it.
I love it. Well, I do love the men and women's Boston Tea Party t-shirts. I have a beautiful floral t-shirt. It's so fun. And from the outside, you wouldn't know. So on the back right shoulder, it kind of looks like a little script tattoo, and it says Life, Liberty, Property. And that is a nod, of course, to Sam Adams. And then on the front, there's a flower. And inside the flower, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny 1773, the year of the Boston Tea Party. And the flower is inspired by, if you go to Massachusetts right now in the Boston Tea Party Museum, one of the 2 remaining tea chests from the night of the Boston Tea Party, it's called the Robinson Half Chest. And all the tea chests were destroyed by axes and tomahawks. So this tea chest is so beautiful. They have it displayed, and on it, you can still see there are painted flowers.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. I haven't been to that museum. So
I love that. Oh, it's totally I haven't been either. We need to make the trip. I'm like, it's worth the trip. What am I saying? I want to go. Bucket list. So that is inspired by the Robinson Half Chest. And I just thought that was a fun way of having a really patriotic shirt that not at that time in history, but being beautiful and discreet. And the men's Boston Tea Party shirt has 2 axes, and one of them has a heart in it, because truly it's like a replica of one of the axes, and it has a little, I call it the bleeding heart, but it has a little heart in it. And they famously threw 90,000 pounds of tea overboard, which of course would be way too heavy. And the crates of tea were too heavy. So they chopped them open and then they dumped the tea out into the harbor, literally. So that's why we have the crossed axes as a well-known symbol of the Boston Tea Party. And we have so many fun shirts like that. I have the Culpeper Minutemen shirt because, of course, at any given time, the local men were able to be prepared within a minute to defend their town if the military was too far for various reasons. So, and the join or die tea. Oh my gosh, Ben Franklin. I could go on and on. He's like the clapback king. He is the original clapback king. So lots of really
like
fun.
that.
I love the revolution. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
I'm so happy that you shared all of that. Thank
Oh,
you.
if you're local, you are local. Duh. We should go sometime. There is a restaurant called the Green Dragon in Carlsbad, and it's a replica tavern of where the founding fathers used to meet on the East Coast. And there's a tiny museum inside the restaurant of like documents. Yes. Yes.
How did I
Yeah.
not know about this?
Yeah.
Oh my
We
gosh.
should go. You, me, Braden,
Absolutely.
Andrea's, she's a newlywed, so her husband, we should go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, of course, Brian has to go too. We'll make it a
Okay, I
day.
don't know Brian. Oh, wait. Oh, that's her husband.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And Braden's girlfriend is out here, which I don't know that he advertises that. Sorry, Bray. So we all have to go.
I would love that. I had no idea that was a thing and that it was so
Yeah.
close, like,
It's like
oh,
nice dining. It's a nice, it's a splurge.
that's
If
okay.
you dress
I'm
nice.
totally down for it. Yeah. No, I love that. And lastly, I wanted to kind of conclude our interview, keeping it kind of as you mentioned on brand, kind of this blending of makeup and history.
Mhm.
I am so curious, do you have any makeup tips? Especially because we had a moment where we were kind of had some tears and your makeup didn't move at all.
Thank you
So
so
like it
much.
looked
Well,
flawless.
after 17 years of dance coaching, it better stay.
There you go. Yeah. So what are a few like makeup beauty tips, whether it's hair care, skincare, anything? I'm curious
Oh
because
my
your
gosh,
look
thank you
is
so much. Thank
flawless.
you. Thank you so much. I love it. All the girly things I absolutely love. So let's do one of each. Okay. So for skin,
Okay.
I love skin right now. I'm really into the dermaplaning.
Oh, love that. I am as well. Game changer.
Everything will go
So
on
smooth.
smoother. Ladies, if you don't dermaplane every week, well, you'll know as your hair grows in how often you need to, but I'm into the dermaplaning. I keep very avid care of my skin, but the dermaplaning for the hair, I am recovering from post-COVID hair loss, and I'm happy to say it's like growing back. So for the hair, you know what? Okay, are you ready? I've never dyed my hair, highlighted it. I mean, maybe in middle school I did some experimentation, but no hair on my head is like, it's like virgin hair. So
Wow.
I would just say be good to your hair and just eat really well and love your hair with some great shampoo. And I just think be good to your hair.
Yeah.
And then for makeup, oh, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have been for years using the same Lancome mascara. And then I do one coat of CoverGirl waterproof, the orange tube.
Okay.
That's like my little trick of the trade. And
Oh my
then
God.
I have some other ones, but that's my go-to. But I will say Girly Talk is my favorite. I love your whole brand. I love how you're incorporating beauty, makeup, history. I love what you're doing in education. And I would be remiss if I just didn't encourage your audience. Scripture says that those that look to the Lord are radiant. And I
Oh,
love that because we want our skin to glow, right? We want to
right.
be glowing, we want to be beautiful. And so I think the outer beauty is so fun. There's no shame in taking pride in your outer appearance and taking care of the body that God gave you. And honestly, like, I'm a single woman. I want to do my best. You never know. You never know who's going to be out there.
Same here. I completely get it.
But truly, those who look to the Lord are radiant. And I think that really encompasses it all. So just commit everything to Him, and your true beauty will shine.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Thank you, Sarah, for taking time out of your day to talk with me about this, to preserve history, to share your story. You are always welcome here. Anytime that you
Thank
got
you.
something that
Thank
you want
you.
to
I would love
preserve,
to come back. I feel like we could keep talking. So let's do it again
absolutely.
sometime.
You're always welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations to all you're doing. I think you're going to I think this podcast is so valuable. And I love, thank you for creating this digital time capsule for all of us. It's really, really special what you're doing. And thank you for fighting for our students in California. I love you for that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna need waterproof mascara.
I do one coat after my regular mascara.
I'm glad that you shared that trick because I'm gonna need it.
Yeah.
Yes, you are always welcome here. So
Well,
thank you so
what's your
much.
favorite makeup trick that you've heard from people? Because you're professional. So I'm like, I want to glean from your wisdom.
It's actually something very simple, but I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. Like, when you're rushing and you do your mascara and sometimes it gets on the eyelid and then
Sure.
it adds to the stress, like, oh my gosh, how do I get it off? If you just let it dry and then you scrape it off, your makeup will not be messed up. So if you take
Oh!
like a clean, the little mascara spoolie, if you just have a
Mhm.
clean one on the side for when you make those little mistakes, you can just kind of scrape it off. And that way, if like you have eyeshadow, it doesn't mess it up.
Okay. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.